Okay, we are officially online, just waiting for our participants to join this fantastic webinar that we have planned today. We can already see people logging in very, very quickly. We have Devota, Dorothy, Flora, Janet, Joy, Lightness. Who else? Lillian, plenty of women. That's great. I hope we get some gents joining us today as well. This is a topic, a very, very interesting and important topic about women breaking the glass ceiling. I know it's very female centric, but I think there's a lot our male counterparts and colleagues and friends can learn as well. So if you're online and you know of someone in your network that might want to join us who's a male, tell him he's welcome as well. He for she is a movement. So this is going to be a fantastic webinar. We're here to learn, here to share, to discuss these issues. So I'm just waiting for everyone to log in so that we can start our session. We have Emma Orio's just joined us as well. Flora Kivuyo, we see you. If you've just logged in and you're an attendee of this webinar, a warm welcome to you. Please just drop in the chat, maybe your name, where you are. You could be anywhere in the world, actually, where you are in the world and what you're currently doing, as in if you're at work or you have a job, what job is that? Or if you're studying, just let us know so we can get to know you. Welcome, Judy. I see you've logged in. Mayor, yay, we have a gent. That's great. I think you're our only one so far. Call one of your bros to join us. Vivian as well has joined us. Hello, Judy. Welcome to the panel. We're just letting people log in. It's 1 minute past the hour. We will give people another few minutes just to make sure they don't miss this phenomenal event. Mayur says they're on their way. Good. So whilst we wait, attendees, please just let us know who you are, where you are, and maybe something interesting about you, like what you do or what you aspire to do or anything at all that you would like to share with us. And of course, your location. I'll just put that in the chat. So please share your name, location, and one interesting fact about you. Don't be shy. So just to let you know, again, as we wait, welcome, Maria. I see you've just joined. Today's conversation is all about women breaking the glass ceiling. This is all part of Innovation Week. I know it was delayed and we were due to do this at some point last month, but due to National Mourning, we were delayed. And here we are reconvening again. So thank you for your patience in the rescheduling of this event. Very happy to see you all join us. We have 23 participants online and more coming. We have a lot of people that have registered. So breaking the glass ceiling is a really important topic. Women breaking the glass ceiling, I should say. And we're going to be having a lot of discussion around this topic. We're going to be hearing from our panelists, who I will introduce shortly. However, I also want to let you know that we have received your questions. Some of you have sent questions in advance. Some of you might develop questions as we go. I really want to invite you to be part of the discussion. This is not a one-way chat. This is a group discussion. It's a workshop almost. So when you hear something that's interesting, please let's use the chat box. We also have the Q&A box where you can ask official questions. But if you want to just comment on something you've heard, you can use the chat section so that I, as the moderator, can hear your voice and also the panelists as well, so that we can have more of a debate around some of the issues we're going to share today. Great. So we have some people who are commenting. So Judy, based in Dar es Salaam, wife and mother of 2 beautiful daughters. Oh, wonderful. Currently working in the people management. Very nice space. I missed the space. People management space. Great. Lightness, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. I love children. You need to connect with Judy. She's got 2 beautiful daughters. Lillian, head of creative and user experience, based in Dar es Salaam. I paint and free dance. Very nice. Nice to meet you, Lillian. Anyone else? Keep them coming. I want to hear about you. Mayur from Dar es Salaam. I am a musician. Fantastic, Mayur. That's great to hear. Okay. I think we are at, we're still growing numbers. We're at 26 attendees at the moment. I know there's more coming, but conscious of time as well. Important that we get going. But before we jump in, I have to do an energizer. I have to. So I'm gonna play a little game with you guys just to make sure you're here and you're awake so that, you know, our minds are tuned in, ready for a phenomenal conversation. So, Miriam Elisha, founder and director of Buyegi Trust Fund and Unique Child Academy. I live in Iringa. Welcome, Miriam. So nice to have someone outside of Dar as well. That's fantastic. So we're gonna play a little game, which I love because it's like a brain teaser. So this is called Animal, Place, and Object. It is a race against time. It is brain training, as I said. So I'm going to give you a letter. And when you get that letter, everyone will get it at the same time. I'll write it in the chat. And when you receive that letter, you very quickly have to write down the name of an animal in English, please. We're sticking to one language. Don't tell me about an animal in Japanese because I won't be able to verify. A place, and place can be a country, it can be a city, it can be anywhere. And an object, which is anything, like a chair or a pencil or a banana or whatever. So obviously the letter that I give you, each of those things need to begin with that letter. The first person to respond on the chat, following those rules, is the winner. I hope that's clear. So we'll do a practice round. So I'm going to pick a letter now. I'm going to write it in the chat and I'm going to say it. We're going with the letter. Panelists, feel free to play as well. We're going with the letter C. Off you go. Animal, place, object. Please try and write them in one place. Don't split them, otherwise I can't calculate. Okay, it's happening very quickly before my eyes. Right, I see the first person that's followed my rules was Maureen Rose. Chihuahua, China, chalk. Pretty good, Maureen. Lightness, cat, Canada, chair. Okay, you guys have done this before. Miranda, cat, Cameroon, cart, Cambodia. You've got extras in there, Miranda, wow. Joanna, cat, Cuba, cucumber. Okay, we have plenty. Cat, Cancun, covered. You guys are too good. I need to make this more difficult. Rehema, Msangi, cat, California, cup. Oh, Mayur's done another round. Fantastic. Okay, that was a practice. Now I'm doing it for real, okay? So the rules are, first one there with all of your answers, okay? I don't want it all mixed up. Right, drum roll, please. And our letter is U. The letter U, off you go. Animal, place, object. Oh, everyone's gone very quiet. Actually, an animal with U is, okay, here they come. Unicorn. I don't know if that's actually an animal, but I admire your, you know, creativity. Unicorn, Uganda, umbrella. I don't know if unicorn is really, really real, guys. Emma Oreo also had unicorn, Uruguay, umbrella. Nice. Everyone's got unicorn. Is there another animal with a U, guys? It's quite hard. I actually don't know. It's a fictional animal, says Emma, so it does count. Maybe, okay, all right, fine. In absence of any other animal starting with a U, it looks like I'm gonna have to accept unicorn. So therefore, Emma, just for your argument, putting that forward, I'm gonna make you the winner. So sorry, Maureen. Okay, we'll do one more as we wait. We've got 37 people online, guys, 38 now. For those that have joined us, we're just doing a quick energizer where I give you a letter and you just need to answer 3 things. You need to tell me an animal, a place, and an object that starts with that letter. This is our final round. So if you've just joined us, sharpen up quick. These guys are fast. So you need to give me an animal, a place, and an object. The letter we are going to go with is the letter R. Go. Animal, place, object. Spellings count. Just saying. Thank you, Mayur. You corrected your mistake. Okay, in come the answers. Wow. Okay, excellent. I have to go back to the top and see how we did. So we had a spello from Mayo of rabbit, Rwanda, rubber, but it was rectified. But it was rectified too late. Maureen came in with rat, Russia, and rug. Dorothy, rabbit, Russia, ring. Oh, wow. You're all winners, guys. I'm so happy everyone's awake and enjoying my game. So thank you for participating. What do we win? The chance to hear from these amazing panelists who have joined us today. So by being here, by being present and being alert, you win the chance to learn some new skills, some tips, and to gain wisdom from our amazing panel of speakers. So without further ado, I'm going to begin our session officially now, as we have many people online and I'm sure more will join us, but time is of the essence and time should not be wasted. So today, we are talking about women breaking the glass ceiling. My name is Ella Naiman. I will be your moderator for today. Just so you know who I am and why I'm here, I work with Empower. I'm the partner for advisory here at Empower. I'm also a moderator and a trainer and a coach. I work in the HR field or human capital. And I'm super, super excited, not just as a moderator, but actually as I'm kind of a mini participant as well, because I'm here to learn too. So very, very, very happy to be here, part of this session. This is part of Innovation Week in collaboration with various partners. There's lots of events going on this week. And this is one of them. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you've taken the time to be part of this fantastic session. So I'm going to quickly introduce our, well, not quickly, I'm going to take my time actually to introduce our panelists. We have three phenomenal ladies who are here to share their stories and their respective journeys. You'll notice one is missing. Unfortunately, Anna Enoch, who is the founder of Lavido Stores, unfortunately is unwell today, so was unable to join us. But she sends all her love and best regards, and hopefully we can have her on another session. However, we're powering on through. So on the panel, as you can see on the screen, we have Caroline Kavishe, who is the chief, give us a wave, the Chief Human Resources Officer at Tigo, Tanzania. So working for one of the biggest telcos in the country. She has a long-standing career as probably Tanzania's leading expert in the field of HR. So lots to learn from her. She's worked for many of the leading global conglomerates, including Coca-Cola Kwanza, TCC or Tanzania Cigarette Company, otherwise known as JTI. She has worked with British Gas Tanzania, and all in kind of director roles. So she has really risen the ranks and crashed through those ceilings, I should say. So we've got lots to hear from you. Very happy that you were able to join us. One interesting thing that you should know about Caroline is, despite her HR specialism, she actually has a background in chemistry, pharmacology, and international public health. So I really need to know how this all came together. I think we all do. Caroline has shared that her passion is all in training and coaching and leading others. So we're very much looking forward to hearing from you, Caroline. And I will come to you in a moment to hear more. I think you can tell us much, much more about your journey and your success story. Next up, we have Joanna Lind. So give us a wave, Joanna, so we know who you are. It also says on the screen. So Joanna is currently Managing Director at Scania. But interesting fact about her is that when she joined her career at Scania, she was a graduate trainee and she didn't even have a driving license. And now she's leading, a whole country team in Tanzania. And I believe can drive a truck. Is that correct? I hope so. So not only has she got a license, she can drive a truck, but she is, a world-class leader and really, really has earned her place at crashing through another glass ceiling, very much a man's world, the logistics industry. And I hope you don't mind me sharing that she's also a very young lady in leadership. I believe it was only your 32nd birthday, was it 31st recently?
33rd.
31st, okay.
Yeah.
Well, You don't look it. So managing director at age 32 and just turned 33. So really, really, I think for many of us wanting to hear how did you do that? You know, really exciting stuff. So Joanna, I believe you hold a degree in international business, and you have a background in sales as well and business development. And your role as managing director of Scania Tanzania began in 2020. So karibu sana, looking forward to hearing more about your story. And last but certainly not least, thank you. Certainly not least, we have Dr. Margaret Muchi, who is just a giant. Let me explain why. Dr. Margaret is currently the Chief Executive Officer of TERNET, which is Tanzania Education and Research Network. She is how can I say it in the right way? She is an academic, I should say. She is a researcher. She holds a PhD. She is someone that we have so much to learn from, and in a completely different space. But also what she shares, I think, with Joanna is we're very much operating in a man's world. I believe you have a degree in computer science as well, from the University of Dar es Salaam, and you also graduated from the North Carolina State University under a Fulbright scholarship. She has a master's degree, a PhD. She is such a learned woman with so much to share. And her areas of interest are in network security, as well as network admin and management in software defined networks. This is mind-boggling to me, but really interesting to hear from you. And I suspect probably one of the only females in your field in the country. I might be wrong, but one thing I really admire, you're the only one, huh? I thought so.
No, I'm not. You're wrong. There are so many others.
Okay, you'll tell us more.
But yeah, they're there, yes.
They're there, okay, but you're mentoring them as well. I also read that you are the founder of Big Sis in STEM Group and a board member and mentor of More Active Girls in Computing, which I think the acronym for that is MAGIC. So you're also helping to cultivate that culture and that movement for women in the sector, which I think is really, really important part of this discussion as well. So a warm welcome to you all. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving up your time to share with our audience of 45 plus people now and growing. And I want to start our conversation before I ask you even a question, is just to share, and I'll come to you first, Caroline. What is your superpower? Don't be shy, be proud. And your superpower is that thing that defines you, that you think something that is unique to you, that makes you stand out, that has helped you to get to where you are today. Welcome, Caroline.
Wow. Thanks so much and good afternoon. I'm so proud to be part of this panelist and for the recognition in the invitation amongst women who have smashed the ceiling, as you say. If you ask me what is my superpower, apart from the advantage I have of being raised by a very phenomenal mother and having great sisters, strong sisters in my family, which made me very ambitious. I think my superpower trait would be clearly, I'm a strong problem solver, but I work very aligned to, I'm very empathetic and passionate. I'm compassionate in addressing the issues that I solve. But I would describe myself as someone who is very fair and principle guided. So once you know me, you know what can fly and what will not. And I've sort of managed to penetrate to the ceiling with that background.
Wonderful. Already learning from you. So that directness and that knowing what you see is what you get being something that you believe has carried you through, as well as your traits of empathy, problem solving, which are all important leadership traits. Thank you so much. Dr. Margaret, maybe if I can come to you next, what is your superpower? If you could bottle it up.
Yeah, thank you, Ella. And yes, I'll go as Caroline did, to thank the participants that are here and shout out to my sisters and cousins. I saw most of them in the chat. I will go straight to one of my superpower. It's something that I was not born with, but something I learned along the way is emotional intelligence. Ella, I will leave the office with like a lot of, stress and things moving. But when I got home, it's like I don't have any stress. And the same when I move home with stress, I'll just go in the office and like nothing has happened. It's just a skill that I've learned throughout, and it has really, really helped me in my career. And it is helping me even now. Yeah, so I've learned to separate things and separate the occasion and different number, like different stress areas and different emotions at different places. Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. So emotional intelligence, I think we're going to hear more about that today. This is definitely a topic of discussion that's going on in our world, but you're saying this has been something that has carried you through. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Definitely. Yes.
And Joanna, if I could come to you, same question.
I would say for me, it is to see people. I've always really loved working with people. Actually, as a young girl until about 19, I liked to have my own way to decide for people. So my parents don't always recognize this, but I really learned how to get people on board and to work with them and work with their strengths and seeing other people's strengths and weaknesses so I can support them. That has been really fun. And it's fun.
Wonderful. So kind of like that mentorship and coaching piece as well, being able to see how can you push someone forward, but also pull them up where they have those gaps.
Exactly. And of course, having to learn over the time that you sometimes need to instruct people. But I think just being really interested, maybe that's the superpower then, being really interested in other people, how they're feeling and what they're doing and how they're doing it.
Yes. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Thank you all. So I've got a couple of questions, how we're going to do this session, just so that everybody knows and we're all aligned. We're going to ask a series of questions that are that I've pre-prepared. But then following that, we of course want to open the floor to discussion. This is not a one-way chat. I know I'm moderating, but I have a few questions. I'm going to be selfish. And then I'm going to open up. So panelists, please bear with us as questions come through, but attendees, please note that at the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A box. This is the official question box. So if you have a question and you want to direct it towards any of our panelists, you've heard them introduce themselves today, please do so. And we will come to those questions in the next part. If you have a comment and you just want to share or to, I don't know, applaud, as we've seen. We've already got some Bree has a huge clap to you, Caroline, there. Please share the love. That's what it's there for. So please just comment, feel free. This is a discussion. And I've already aligned with the panelists. They are very, very keen to hear from you all because we can learn from each other, which is great. So if there's something you want to chip in on or add to, you are most welcome. Now, I'm going to start with my first question. Caroline, I have to come to you first, and I want to ask you about this background that you have. Your educational background is in chemistry, public health, and pharmacology, and yet here you are sitting as Chief Human Resources Officer at Tigo, Tanzania. What can you say about the correlation between your educational background, your studies, your career choices, and what does this mean for some of us who are online, who are probably thinking, well, how did you do that and why? And if I was someone that wanted to change my career, how do you even begin to make that decision or make that change?
Oh, wow. Let me try this one. First of all, I must say, yes, there is a correlation between educational studies and career choices. Traditionally, you expect if you studied or you developed a discipline in engineering, for say, you will come out and be an engineer. If you developed a competence in social work, you should come out and be a social worker. The process of getting to be an engineer or a social worker or a pharmacologist takes years in the making. And during that period of educational studies, you do also grow holistically. That is, you develop educational experiences and experiences that enrich you. Some people work during the course of their study, and you develop attributes that you're able to present at the end of your educational studies. So I would say, naturally, you would go and compete for jobs or careers in the areas that you're disciplined in. But life is not straightforward, as I discovered. And you do finish your educational experience yearning to, for example, for myself, enter pharmacology. And I packed my bags, returned to Tanzania. I was in the States for some years to do that. Packed my bags and returned to Tanzania, and came to Tanzania after studying and working in the pharmaceutical industry, and coming to Tanzania and finding pharmacology is very much in its infancy and could no way accommodate my experience and my caliber and where I was at. So I had to be agile really fast, and I went back to the States. Fortunately, I could, and I did an MPH in international health. Because shout out to my sister, she's on the call. She was in the UN already, and I saw she left the States and stepped in straight into the UN, and now she has over 20 years experience in leading and coordinating the UN in Zanzibar. So she was my role model and still is. So I went back and got an MPH, but not specialized as hers was, and came back with international health. So after I came back, I did try and compete for jobs in international health, in public health. So, but in that competitive environment, I had to leverage the fact that there were no jobs that were immediate and available to me. So I had to be agile and compete for jobs where people are coming out with what they have studied. For example, HR, they were professionals who had studied HR. So I used my educational attributes to outcompete them, because what you gain during the educational experience is attributes that strengthen you, that allow you to better position yourself than somebody who did not develop anything else. So I was fortunate. I came very willing to learn, very willing to work hard, disciplined, self-disciplined, consistent. I was someone who's striving for excellence, somebody who marketed or pitched themselves to want it more than others. But I had excellent communication skills. I was ready to be interpersonal. Interpersonal is working between people. And I was so keen with the public health background. My whole mission was centered in, I have to look for something that will work with people, empower people, have an impact in people, and that's where I was going to be. So, and then I needed to associate myself with a good brand. So, voila, Coca-Cola. I landed at Coke. I competed for the position. I got the entry. I entered as a training and development manager at Coca-Cola. The salary was well below what I was making in America, but because the end in mind was to be in Tanzania, I made the career choice to go into Coca-Cola. And the reason I made that choice is because I was in R&D in the States, working in a pharmaceutical industry for 5 years. And in research and development, you're working with the unknown. And I said, training, I can handle this because I'm working with the known. Somebody is going to load my deck, is going to pre-train me, and then I have to just empower others. Heck, this is doable. So I had the confidence that must have given me the edge over the other candidates that were in the deck. And I was persistent in marketing myself that I can do this. Don't read my CV, I can do this. And I had the collaboration. I had the sponsors and the mentor. I told you about my sisters who was keeping me straight when I came back. And somebody told me about the job. So I'll say that was a sponsor. So but I walked in and drove into Coke myself. It was the 20th of December. I really remember it because the person who told me about the job took me there. And I sat during that interview, and at the end of it, he said, "What do you want your salary to be?" And I said, "Well, what are you offering?" And he said 600,000. And I said, 600,000. At that time, I was wondering if I could live on it, but he said, "I'll throw in a company car and I'll make sure the position reports to me." And I said, okay. So that was the beginning of my move to HR. So, and I believe, therefore, because after your educational experience, you will embark on two things. One, you have changed, and probably you graduate in something that you don't want to practice at all. Many people finish engineering and they don't want to be engineers. Finish pharmacology, finish whatever they're studying, nursing, and they don't want to be a nurse. But the second thing is you could want to be what you studied and it's not available for you at that time. So in that instance, you have to be agile. You have to leverage the experiences you've gained during the time that you were studying. Now you outbeat the people who were rigid and just kept in the books because you have those attributes that people are looking for. Every organization will mold you to fit their culture and their values and shape you to deliver what they expect. So you have to be receptive and willing to take on that challenge. So I hope I've answered the question, but we can expand with it as we go on in the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Caroline. You have definitely answered the question, but I just want to play back what I'm hearing from you. Life is not straightforward or a straight line. And you can transfer your skills. So what you learn in your educational background can be, these are life skills as well. You can adapt, you can be agile, and you can say, right, I know this, or I'm good at this, or I'm a great problem solver. That applies to all sectors. So you don't have to be stuck in what you studied. I think that's such an important message to young people today. Yeah. You can be whatever you want to be, but you have to be clear on your goals. So what is your goal? Where are you trying to get to? What do you enjoy? You mentioned you love working with people. That was like a deal breaker for you if you were not going to have that. And then you need to be strategic and say, well, I'm not going to work anywhere. I'm going to look for that big brand, or I'm going to look for that opportunity to report to an MD or whatever it is. So you can go and search for these things, and be prepared from a financial point of view to step down or sideways to achieve that goal as well. You can't always go up and up and up the ladder financially. You might do something different in your career that will get you where you want to be in the future. So that's really cool. Mentorship and agility, I also took away, are key. But I have to just ask one follow-up on looking at this through the lens of being a female. You've obviously shared you were very disciplined, hardworking, you had that hunger. What did you need to do better or differently than maybe some of your male counterparts to crash through and kind of forge this new career?
Luckily, I didn't, this is at the recruitment stage, I didn't understand who the male counterparts were. But once I was on board, at Coca-Cola, you're training a lot of guys. So you're in a male-dominated environment. So I had to show that I'm excellent at what I'm doing. So I really pre-prepared myself, and I knew the content and how I will share the content in a way that it will make a lasting impact on them. So I emotionally approached the topics. Even if a topic is to strengthen them in how to have better customer relations, how to build a better business case, I will strengthen them to build more person-to-person connection. As long as I was adding value to them, I knew they will come back to me and they will attend the training. Second, I made it a priority for the organization to make sure training was important to them. So I had a reasonable budget. So I did not want no-shows. So there were consequences for not coming to my training sessions. Consequences for the manager and consequences for the attendee. But the attendee wanted to come because that had a direct impact on their life. So if they feel that you're really going to add value to them, they will come and see you. They'll come and seek what you're offering. So I've made all my trainings approach them in an emotional way. And that is reading the content. I had to learn about the brand. I had to learn about the product pack sizes and how they had to work the market to create a winning approach in which they would be able to react in the market. And remember that time, it was 97, we were trying to take, it was a Pepsi world, we were trying to take the market back, and we did. We did take the market back to be a Coke market. So it was very transformational that you're in a leading team, in a global organization, and you as an individual, you're bound to grow from this.
Yeah.
And as a result, Coke was known as a training hub for future leaders.
Right. So essentially what I'm hearing is that you have to show your worth, show your value, and you need to do that strategically, and you need to do it well, and you need to be consistent, male or female. But possibly we have a bigger jump to make as women. But yes, thank you so much, Caroline. This has been really useful. I've already seen a comment here from Professor Linda Mhando said, well said, life is not straight. Please continue to empower others to enact changes in their lives. Wonderful. We'll come back and we'll talk more. And don't worry, attendees, we do have the opportunity for you to ask questions, use the Q&A box, and also you can comment and show your love and appreciation. I don't want to disappoint you, but Anna Enoch looks like she's joined, but she hasn't. It's actually Lightness disguised as her, who's going to manage the camera for me since I'm doing a terrible job of that. So Lightness, please, can you take over on hosting the cameras? I'd like to jump to Joanna next. For those that have joined us, you might have missed the intros. Joanna is the managing director of Scania, Tanzania, and has been since 2020, and is very much operating in a man's world. I know I keep saying that, but this is our topic. We're talking about breaking the glass ceiling, women breaking the glass ceiling, I should say. I hope the screen is showing what it should be. I have no control of it now. So Lightness, it's on you. So Joanna, my question to you is, you're in the logistics industry. It's commonly perceived as male dominated, but maybe correct us if we're wrong. There might be more phenomenal women like you in there, but you're MD of Scania Tanzania at the age of 33. You've most certainly, from where I'm sitting, changed the narrative of what we expect an MD of a logistics company to be. And you also are kind of, I guess, navigating from a cultural point of view as well. I don't know what other countries you've worked in, how that impacts your journey as well. Working in different countries. I believe your career started in Sweden, if I'm not mistaken, but you'll share more on that. And now you're in Tanzania. So I just want to hear from you. What has your experience been like being a female leader in this industry that we don't expect to find women leading in, although we should? And how has that affected you and your leadership style? And I think if I could just preempt by saying this webinar is very much about us also hearing the difficulties. So without revealing anybody's names or anything like that, I'd love to hear real experiences of times where you've been blocked or where you feel that maybe you haven't managed to get through the glass ceiling in your earlier years, and how you overcame that and what you learned. Welcome, Joanna.
Thank you so much for having me on board, and I've really been looking forward to today. I think if we start then with a really quick review of sort of how male dominated has the job been. When I started, I was in the truck-centric part, you could say, of the logistics sector, and I remember my first really big meeting with all of the global salesmen and global leaders in trucks, and we were 100 people. I was part of the group organizing it, and I was the only female. But then another day or two later, we had the same kind of meeting for all of the people in the bus side, And then we were actually 23, I think, out of 100. So it does vary a little bit. And actually, I started working in the bus industry for quite many years, possibly because I felt more accommodated. That's something for me to reflect on sometime, I think. But I think it has been both a challenge and something fantastic, because when I joined, I had the great opportunity to meet so many people who had worked such a long time in the industry. So very early on, I had a number of mentors and people supporting me, and some of them very close to the age of retirement, and I would say all of them men. And what I take away from that is if you dare to ask questions, and if you are open and willing to learn from people, there is no gender bias, really. Sometimes it's up to us. It's in our heads that we think they don't want to speak to us, or we think they don't want to teach us. But my experience is the opposite. So I'm very grateful that I did come into the industry at that point. And then I spent a few years internationally working as a global key account manager. I spent quite a lot of time in UK, and I also worked in the very beginning and studied also in France. And during my international career then, I was working in basically all of Europe. And during that time, I definitely saw a change. So when I started as the key account manager, I was often the only female in the room, but only 5 years later, more or less in all of the companies that I worked with, there were counterparties to myself then, so on a very high level in the company who were female. So I think it's a good change. And what I would say is the changing factor for myself, and I think for some of these women too, is that we all threw away the label, or that's my feeling at least. We threw away the label of being female or being male. Because very early on, I tried to find my place and understand how should I be fitting in, until I realized I actually don't fit in. And in my case, I don't fit in as a female or as a male. So as a woman, I'm quite direct, which people in the beginning did not always like, still don't always like actually. And I really don't like talking about my family, actually. And there's been so many occasions where, you know, for example, a big meeting, a decision meeting, where I was representing my manager, and I came into the room, and there were all of these men, only men at that point in time, and they were all going around shaking hands and saying hi, and there was this little mingle beforehand, and whenever they came to me, even though they knew me and we had been working together, they all just went away from there, just froze, and they didn't dare to shake my hand, and they just went away from there because they didn't know what to say. And the few men that actually tried, they were like, oh, so how is your family? Or one said, oh, Johanna, it was the Swedish tradition. You could have been the Lucia. That's the saint that comes in with lights instead of being part of the panel who actually contributes with competence. And anyone who knows me, I really hate being, you know, either talking about my family or being in the light. I just want to be there for my competence. So that was, of course, a bit of a challenge to try to understand that there was this picture of how I should be that I didn't fit into. And when I tried to be male, I'm not either particularly male. I am quite caring about people, and I like to think a lot of steps in advance, which maybe wasn't always expected in some of these meetings. So what I've realized is I need to work with myself. I cannot affect what they expect of me or their opinion of me. I can only try to be as authentic as I possibly can be. So myself, really get to know who am I, throw away the label, woman or female, I'm just Johanna. I mean, that's enough. And what would I do? Try to be consistent in what I do. And that has really definitely shaped, going back to your question, how has it affected my leadership style? Well, I try to get to know myself as best as I possibly can and stick with that and tell the people around me to do the same, to really learn their own strengths and their own weaknesses. And as a team, we can often help each other with the weaknesses, but then people think less of what they should do and think more of what do I think we should do now. So that's been actually quite good. And then I would just like to send 2 things more. I think it's very important to, in the journey, to listen to other people, take advice, because that has, at least for me, really helped me with, for example, the mentors I spoke about. You don't have to find a solution. You don't even have to be alone in all of these experiences that you will face. I mean, let's face it, they will be there. But you can have people to talk to. And what would you have done in this situation? But also find somewhere where you get energy. It could be privately, somewhere where you get a lot of energy, or it could be, like in my case, some of these fantastic colleagues over the years that have really given me so much that I get energy from there, and therefore I can manage those other occasions where you feel more left alone, or yeah, I can give you another concrete example. So I was sitting in this room, and I was called there by 3 men, and we were going to discuss my area of expertise, where it was in my little square, so to speak, my mandate square, and other people had other mandates in the room. And it turned out what we were going to discuss was my little square. And every time they kept asking a question, they turned to the other men in the room. Yeah, okay, so Hasse, I don't know, let's call him something. What would you say about this? And I was sitting there feeling, but that's my area of responsibility. Fortunately, this person was really good and turned the question back to me. Next question, addressed again to another man. And it kept on for 45 minutes. I didn't get a single question. Only the other people who didn't even have the mandate over the area got the questions. And I think in those occasions, you just need to accept, again, you can't change this person. You can just stand up for yourself. You can just, bring concrete facts. Don't be shy. Stand up and say, okay, so this is what we have taken decision to do, or whatever is appropriate in this particular setting.
Yeah, wow, that's such a good example to share. That really depicts that, as you said, those stereotypes and biases that many people have, not just men, but women as well, of other women, and how you can navigate that. But I think what I've really learned from what you've said today is try to throw away that label. You are uniquely you. You're not man or woman, you're you. And don't try and fit in to certain situations that don't serve you. So get to know yourself, be authentically you, and add value as you. You can't control anybody else. But then the courage bit, this is the hard part, is when you're in that situation you've just described, you have to be so strong, don't you, to be able to say, oh, hang on, that's my square. Or you don't have the support of the other people. So what could you say, it's very easy to sit and say, be brave, but how do you learn and cultivate that courage?
So I think it's twofold. Firstly, I think if you are in a setting where you're likely going to enter into these situations, you can actually speak to the men around you and explain how you see it and what you feel. And my experience is it's not always they understand that will happen to you. They see it, but they don't think about it so much. So when you describe it, you will start seeing people also raising their hands and saying, hello. So in the example I gave about the low square, actually there were 2 men who kept on putting the question back to me because they're great people. They help out because they had seen it and they had understood. And in another example, I got some really good help from male colleagues who helped me out with a customer who was not treating me in a nice way, because we had spoken about it beforehand. So that's the first thing. You don't always have to be courageous yourself. You just need to let people know what you think. Secondly, I'm not sure this goes for everyone, but my courage comes from facts. If I know that this is correct, or this is facts we need to take into consideration, I don't really care about who says them, or what effect it gives, as long as we take the right decision as a company. So I've stopped looking so much at their reaction. Actually, I stopped trying to be liked. That's I think is the trick. You don't have to be liked. You just have to show that you do good results, you know? Make sure to have a role where the good results also show. Make sure to communicate the good results. That's very important.
Yes, absolutely. That is such a good point. You don't have to be liked. It's not a social contest. It's it's all about impact. So if you're driving impact, deal with the facts, showcase yourself. It's not showing off, it's factual. So I think that's a really important one. And I think it's particularly important for the ladies on the call, not to say that all men are naturally confident or more confident than women, no. But I think when you're dealing with that disparity that we have, it's about being forthcoming about what you have done. And I think interesting that both Caroline and you have mentioned mentorship. It keeps coming back, you know, people can help you. You don't have to be courageous on your own. That's a quote. That needs to be on a t-shirt, Joanna. You have people around you who can guide you and give you support, because we all need it. And I think one more thing to say, just to the gents on the line who have joined us. We have some men here today, and I'm so happy that we do. It's so important as well from a male perspective to learn and seek that knowledge of where females or women in the workplace struggle with these kinds of sensitive, gender sensitive issues, and what you can do to play your part, like in Joanna's example of, you know, people stepping in and redirecting the question back and trying to notice these behaviors. So thank you for sharing. This was really, really insightful. So Dr. Margaret, I'm going to come to you. I am also aware from your profile and from what you're doing that you are also in a pretty male-dominated world, although you challenged me in the intro and said, no, there's more of us, there's more women, it's not just me, which is fantastic. However, I'd be interested to know to you, that's our perception from the outside in, you know, the computer science world is, I don't know, in my head, geeky males. No offense to anybody. So how have you managed to crash through and kind of change this narrative? Not only in getting a master's in computer science, but also a PhD in network security, and leading now a CEO of a technology-driven organization. I'd love to know your personal kind of what pushed you in that direction, you know, this career, and where have you had some difficulties along the way that you can share with us?
Thank you, Ella. Thank you. Just to start with, you know, going to computer science, it wasn't automatic, it wasn't easy. I was a very average high school graduate. And, you know, when you're looking at a program like which way you should go in college, like in the university, is, you know, you look at the job market, like which program is marketable. When you graduate, you will get a job quickly. But also, I know I have this thing in me, like being competitive. When someone says something is hard, I like to try how hard it is. It's just me. So I think that's one of the motivation that I went to computer science. I applied to computer science even when I had this feeling that I don't qualify, because that time UDSM was very picky. They took only first class for computer science. And I had 1 or 2 points to get first class, so I was the second class, but still I applied for computer science. And surprisingly, I got in. Not very surprising though, because, you know, sometimes they say, you know, luck is preparedness, meet opportunity. And that time I had, there was opportunity for, you know, putting more females into engineering and sciences. And I was prepared because I applied, and I was prepared to go to this one of the competitive field. It's a long story, but I got into computer science through a program called Preent. And of course, I want to give shout out to my blood sister, Anna. She's in here. She's the one who spotted that program for me and said, like, you should apply for this, and then you can go to computer science. And I applied and I got in. But then, yeah, that was the easy part. So getting in, I found that we were quite a number of females, probably in a class of 61, we were about 2-3. It's not a lot, but I wasn't alone. And unfortunately, 2 of us went there through that program. And you know what we were called? Something called the Viwado. I know some of the people in the, some of the attendees will remember that word in Nudism. At that time, it was called the Viwado, means if you are Ngoduni, like, you know, you didn't come here straight, but you know, you made it your way when the door was being closed. But I got in anyway. Maybe I want to touch on that story because that's where, you know, the ceiling started for me with that name Viwado, because, you know, it wasn't a very good feeling when you say Viwangodun. That means, you know, it's like low standard and things like that. So it was painful, but that was the name for people like us. Long story short, at the end of that first year, feeling so bad about being called that name and working so hard. I was the best student in mathematics, but I had to work very hard, Ella. And that at least I was able to challenge that name since that day, and started my way in breaking the ceiling, going in my career. But also one thing, so it's not about like, you know, I had this moment when I said I want to be a computer scientist. No, I was looking at the job market and also just that competitive spirit of being there. And that's one. But when you go into the industry, the journey has not been very easy because of all those ceilings you are saying. And but you get support from people. For example, the people around you, like families, friends, even male allies have been helping us. I can see in the list I have about 9 cousins and aunts. They are there. They have been supporting me. It's about, you know, it's about the forest and not only you, like a tree in the forest, but it's about the people around you, like what Joanna was saying, including the you know, the male and female as well. But anyway, the journey being not so easy, but also it has been rewarding because of what they've been able to contribute to the society, but also being on the table and making decisions for other women and of course, and for other females and male as well. It's something that I will not trade for anything else, because we have to show up. We have to go there, talk about us, and also talk about male and be part of the decision making for the entire ecosystem. So that is one thing I would want to say. But also, you know, Joanna put it very well about, you know, my sister will correct me. My sister is a gender specialist, but we call it gender blindness. You know, and this gender blindness is there both for male and female. You know, sometimes even we do things that, I don't know, it's because of culture or how we are the environment we have been, we just do things blindly without noticing our you know, our biasness. So I think that partly answer your question about my journey. Probably I can add, I didn't talk anything about my career yet. I know we'll get into that, but I also want to say, in touching upon what Johanna said about the support of people, I've been supported very well with both female and males as well. For example, in the position I am in, this position was recommended to me by a male colleague who said, like, I know there is opening somewhere and I think you qualify. Go talk to these people. They are the ones hiring, probably they can consider you. And through that process, here I am in this position. It's not even a female, but you know, even our male colleagues, some of them are really, yeah, very supportive. We don't have to make this like it's a wow, female against male. It's really not it. It's about, yeah, you know, working together, clearing our blindness and yeah. So I know I just touched a few points, and we'll go into details when we are talking about many things about my career, my jobs. Of course, I'm now the CEO for TERNET, but before that I was a PhD student. I was a researcher. In US, I was also a lecturer in both the US and Tanzania, and all these glass ceilings have been there. Examples like Joanna's, they have been there in my career as well. And I'll be pointing out one after the other as we go with the discussion.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Margaret. I think, I mean, you've answered the question brilliantly. I think it's clear from what you've shared so far, your journey hasn't and isn't easy. None of you have had an easy path. But what I hear as the unifying factor is this resilience that you all have, self-belief, but also in having that support system around you. By the way, hello to your siblings and your cousins online.
Yeah, I can see my aunties, they're all here.
Aunties. This is wonderful. So you're kind of saying you have those cheerleaders behind you that remind you why you're doing what you're doing. And I think that's a really underestimated kind of strength that maybe we think, we often think, particularly as women, we need to do this ourselves. We have to prove this ourselves. I have to do it myself, but you really don't. And that's something I think everyone should take away. You also said something really poignant, which was, we have to show up. You know, I love that you have a duty to show up and to find the support and the strength that you need to be able to do that. And the fact around gender bias and blindness, as you said, it exists. It's not going to go away. And culture plays into that as well. But as we go through and as we experience, and as women like you break ceilings for us who are the next generation coming through, it's really important for us to see that path being paved. So thank you for that. And I also noticed one more thing, this word sponsors, or this idea of sponsors. Yes, there's mentors, but there's people that can push you forward and say, Caroline would be really good for this job. Joanna I recommend her, or Dr. Margaret should go for this CEO role. And being comfortable with that, or seeking that support as well, I think is a really key thing I will take away. It's not male versus female, we are together, but it's finding that support as well. So you are CEO now of TERNET. What would you say has been the most significant barrier now that you're in this role? Some would say you've broken the glass ceiling. Maybe from your perspective, you're kind of saying, I've still got more to do. I don't know. What do you think is your biggest barrier that you face day to day at the moment, if you're able to share?
Yeah, thank you, Ella. I'm able to share, of course. You know, I will group these things together, you know, the barrier and the challenges. You know, the barrier, the stereotype is still there, and probably you can say it is more male side because of the culture, but also female, the you know, gender blindness. Sometimes, like what Joanna was saying, I might be in the meeting, and as we said, you know, the general case, I will tell you. You are in a meeting, and you know, when it comes to discussion, probably about, you know, like job, you know, just like, you know, you are planning to do something, and there are activities to be done. You can see activities are being allocated based on your gender. Like someone assumed that she cannot do it. She has 3 kids. She's very busy, she cannot do this. She won't be able to follow up on that. So we'll give her these lighter jobs. You know, in the, you know, when you sit at the C table, you have things to do, and you can see these are female, like they are directed to you because someone assumed that you cannot do this other one. And sometimes they will also point out, like, no, don't take this job, it's too, you know, too hard for you. You have so many other responsibilities, which sometimes it's probably a good assumption, but personally, I wouldn't want someone to assume unless you ask me if I can or I can't. Yeah, I think it's a good thing to do. But also, as I said, I will say the barriers and the challenges. I won't deny to being a mother, a wife, and you know, with all this responsibility, it has not been easier to juggle, you know, the family and work. Though, as I told, nowadays it's something that I've learned to do. You'll find me traveling with my family to meetings, to job trips. When I was younger, I would hide it when I like hiding that I have my family with me in the hotel. But nowadays, I usually point it out. I have my family. I'm not joining you for dinner. I'll join my family. It's as I grow to deal with my life and you know, work-life balance. So probably that is not a barrier as such, but it's a challenge along the way, being a leader and having so many travels to do and having so many meetings to do. So you try to, you know, to balance how things works out. So when you get time, you carry your family along with you, and if they have time. Yeah, so I think those are the, you know, but also something, another, you know, but I think this is something we have, like many of us working so hard and trying to catch up, you know, in our African culture, you can see, I see it all the time, males can stay in the office and work even later and just go home, you know, take shower and eat, sleep. We don't, we you know, sometimes based on culture or our responsibility, you don't stay very late at work. But when I was growing in my career, I found myself wanting to catch up. So sometimes you want to stay late, or sometimes you'll go home and when the kids are sleeping, you start working again and you wake up very early, 3 in the morning, and you keep working again because you want to catch up. You feel like the male colleagues are leaving you behind. You know, that feeling, it has been there. I think I've learned my way through. Nowadays, I'm more relaxed. I work and I sleep a lot too. You can't believe it. I love sleeping. And I'm still a CEO and I do all the things I'm supposed to do.
That's so inspiring.
Yeah,
I love that.
yeah,
Don't lose sleep.
Yeah, I don't lose sleep nowadays. I sleep 8 hours straight and I'm still a CEO, and TERNET is still performing.
Yeah.
It's thriving. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I really love what you said there about don't assume, just ask. Assumptions are very dangerous. I think this is something we can all take away as leaders, as aspiring leaders. Don't assume someone can't do something because of their gender or their life situation. At least give them the opportunity. But I think also, Dr. Margaret, what you've said around, you know, you've relaxed more as you've progressed in your career about certain things, maybe sharing about your family or taking them on work trips. And I think reflecting on that from some, you know, people online who will be maybe in the earlier stages of their career, they'll be thinking, but I can't do that right now. But I think it's a journey of mastery, self-confidence, building yourself, building your impact until none of that matters. But it's definitely a challenge, I think, for women breaking the glass ceiling. So I've got some questions now, ladies, that have come from the audience. However, our Q&A box is still open, panelists. I hope you're still with us and enjoying the conversation thus far. Keep your questions coming. Some questions are directed to people, others are open. So I'll ask the question, and whoever would like to speak, please feel free. But I think the first question that I have here that is really interesting to me to hear your perspective is it harder for women to get promoted versus men? Do we believe this to be true? Maybe Caroline, I can come to you on that since you're in the HR space. Is it genuinely harder? Because this is the perception that I'm hearing from our audience.
It depends. It really depends on the role. And it really depends on the time in your life. So if the role will require you to work night shifts or require you to be security, or is a typical role that is structured around males, and you're trying to break that ceiling, it is really hard work for those of us who have done that. It's really going to be a challenge. If you're at the phase in your life where you're pregnant and the role is now open and the employer needs to consider you for the role, or you're lactating, you're breastfeeding, for example, it's harder for you to be promoted. So generally the way I would say is it depends on the role and it depends on the time in your life. So women tend to grow slower because of the other roles they need to play in their life. If they've prioritized having children, that is a role. That is a role that they are prime on. So they may choose, you may choose to prioritize the children at that time and give up on your time for a promotion. And even after women have babies, your coming back needs to be really prepared. For example, by the time I had my first child, I had already turned the corner and become an HR manager, which is a more generalist role. And all the guys were watching, oh, she's pregnant. You know, pregnancy was an expectation immediately after our marriage. We decided to start a family. And when I was pregnant, I worked up to the last, as long as I could. And when I had my child, to come back to work, I had to prepare a lot of support structures so that I can go back into the level I was already at, so that I'm not lagging the guys who were there. You know, when you're back, you have to be back and on top of things. You're not semi-back, or you're not going into reinduction in the levels that we're talking. So if you're going to break the ceiling, when you come back, you have been at home on maternity, but you're reading up, you're catching up, you're still in tuned. So I am fortunate to have a great husband, I must say, and that's my pillar. I am fortunate to have a great family. At that time, I had my mother-in-law, may she rest in peace, but she came down and came into the household. It was our firstborn. And you know how precious those are. I was fortunate to be working at Coke. I even would ferry home purified water so he has a proper bath. I had it sketched all to the T with an extra helper, and we lived close. I was 10 minutes away, so I could rush back at the right time, go and breastfeed, and come back without the guys knowing that, you know, I was still on top. I came back and I came into my role. I was able to step in. So, so by the time to decide for the next role, and this is interesting, I was HRM and I was striving to be director. And in that time, we were not having babies because we were going to do this promotion. So you make compromises. You make compromises, you know, it was a journey. And after I became director, we could have the babies, but it was so intense, the baby didn't come immediately. So I have a 7-year gap between the two precious babies that I do have. And it's chalk and cheese. And after I had the baby, one of my ex-bosses called me and he said, "Are you ready to move?" So I moved immediately after I had my son to, if you know where TCC is, I was living in Tankibovu, Mbezi, and I had to commute all the way to Changombe. And if you're breastfeeding, you're not going to manage that. So I made a lot of compromises. I must say my second born, Joshua, did not breastfeed for long. I tried the pumping and everything. So those are different compromises that we make because you have to remain in the scene. You have to balance, and so women are required to break the ceiling. You have to be very organized with very good support structures that include good men. And both at Coke, I was the only woman in the boardroom. And you have to tolerate a lot of jokes that are on the edge, and tell a lot of jokes and laugh at a lot of jokes that are on the edge of sexism, but you just have to be part of the team. I moved to TCC, where for a while there were women on the exco, but I also was male dominated and heavy on guys. And now with migration through BG and now to Tigo, we are 50-50. So it's a very good story. It's an excellent story. If you're 10 and you're 5 women, we are going places. So this ceiling is really being reached by a lot of women, even younger women. And it's something people should strive for. So women have sorted out how they can be promoted. The compromises they need to make, they will balance at that time in their life of what making very key strategic decisions of what is important when, and having a proper partner that will be with you in that journey. And for me, because I'm at par with my husband on what I do, we plan together, we do together, and he's really the wind beneath my wings when it comes to what I'm doing in professionally. And I had that, I needed that, and I had that from my family as a child. So I think I looked for it and got it in when I was looking for a partner. So I think that's it. That was how I will say it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Caroline. You've shared so much there. I can see, Joanna, you also have your hand up. Please do contribute to this. I'd love to hear your perspective too.
So I just actually wanted to add, because Caroline, I think you made such a good description of someone who has made your own choices along the way. And that's what I really love. And I think many times when we hear the question, because we all hear it, is it harder to be promoted when you're a female? I think some of us think of what other people perceive of us. And actually no one, not even men, are just, well, some men, but not very frequently, are just raised because other people see them. They're raised because they take an active choice to really prioritize and really know what they want, and they go for it. And that's what you did, Caroline. So I think just, know that if you want it, it's there, but you have to work for it. It's not going to come for free.
That's absolutely true. And I think if I was to put together what you're both saying as well, is that the opportunities are there for everyone. It just so happens as women, maybe there are factors we have to think about that men don't in some situations. And the key thing being motherhood as well, and prioritizing and planning and making sure that you can do both in a sustainable way. But I think also the whole, if you do go down the route of saying, I want to have a family and I'm mid-career and I still want to crash through more ceilings, you need the support, you need a plan. But you also, when you come back, you need to be back. I think what I've really taken from you, Caroline, as well, is you're not just back, you're not semi-back, you're fully back. And so you need to keep in tune and probably work a little bit harder to make sure you maintain that balance for yourself. So it's not necessarily harder to be promoted, but you probably have to put in a little bit more strategic thinking beforehand. But yes, Dr. Margaret, you also have your hand up. Welcome. What do you think as a mother of three?
To add, mother of three, yes. Yeah, I want to add what Caroline said and Joanna, but one point also that came in my mind, and it's really, I really agree 100% with Caroline, what she said, but we have to add another component, networking. To be honest, the participant and you, Ella, several times I've seen promotion is really based on who you know and who recommends who. So mostly we might deny in some places, but trust me, it also adds to the promotion thing. Women, we find it so hard to network, and network, of course, inside the office and outside the office. You have to network. You have to brand yourself. You have to, we'll talk later about branding. The issue of social media and the way we brand ourselves plays a big role in if you'll be promoted or not and what people think about you. So I wanted to add those two pieces into what Caroline said. So it's a case, like it depends if you'll be promoted or not based on how you place yourself, how you network, how you brand yourself as well, including like, but I mean, in addition to coming back full and not semi, so you also have to do those things.
Absolutely, and that applies to men and women, doesn't it? Because networking and building your personal brand and your profile, as Joanna just rightly said, men also proactively push themselves to be promoted in those ways.
Exactly, and that's what we don't do much. We think like this is just something, extra. I just have to bend on my desk and keep working. But those are the social parts. Men do a lot and we don't. That's why it also delay. It plays part in if you be promoted early or not.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that can definitely distinguish between the women who do crash through the glass ceiling and the ones who don't, or the people, I should say, because you have to do that, put in that extra work. This is going back to the EQ, the emotional intelligence, and putting your best foot forward to be noticed and dealing with the facts and not being shy about that as well. I have a wonderful question from Dorothy Usiri in the question box. I have two questions from her, but I'll pick the first, which says, has having female role models beyond family been part of the journey, or any of your journeys? And has it been difficult to find female role models beyond family and friends? So we've talked about the support system behind us, supportive partner, or cousins, aunties, sisters, brothers, etc. But what about women who have guided you, maybe who were, crashing through ceilings before you, or who were your peers? Have any of you had that kind of support? And maybe you can share on that. Who would like to take that one first? Joanna, can I come to you?
Okay.
Or Dr. Margaret, do you want to take it?
Sorry. Well, we can hear from you.
Go. No, it's okay. Go, Joanna. I'll be next.
Okay. Well, to be very, very honest, again, I've realized after a while that I don't need female guidance. I need guidance in the competences that I need in my job. But learning that, I learned from a fantastic female who is one of the first female management trainees in the company where I work, and also one of our first female managing directors in Scania. So from her, I learned to be myself again. I think I went into that mentorship sponsor relation thinking I needed guidance in being female, but she helped me to see beyond it, you could say. Yeah. That's
really, really powerful, knowing that it's the competency. So it's about skills, not necessarily anything to do with gender. So you find out, who am I? Where do I lack or need to grow? And find someone that can help me, male or female, or both, actually, which is another thing I've also heard on my journey through mentorship. One of my first mentors, who was a female when I was a graduate trainee long time ago, said, yes, I'll mentor you, but you should probably get a male mentor as well and get a different perspective and hear from different sides of the table, so to speak. So that's also possible. You don't have to just target one person. So competencies are key. That's where you want to plug your gaps. But Dr. Margaret, you wanted to add on that?
Yeah, exactly. Joanna kind of said about 90% of what I wanted to say. But usually, when someone asks me who is your mentor, I really don't have one physical mentor. I have created my mentor from different physical mentors, both males and female. And I will say that my mentor is in terms of competence, is more formed of male in the field, because there are many anyways. And also I have female, different females who one characteristic or two, they come and complement and create that vital mentor of me, like my non-physical mentor. So it's really, I wanted to just add to what Joanna was saying. You can create your own mentor, not like a physical mentor, but a combination of physical people.
Yeah.
Can be yeah.
And you don't have to seek the support from just one source. It can be multiple.
Exactly.
sources.
And you won't get it. You won't get it from one person, definitely.
Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. I have another really interesting question, which came in actually before the webinar, which I'd love to ask you all. Do you ever suffer, or have you ever suffered, probably not anymore, from imposter syndrome? And if so, how did you deal with it? So imposter syndrome, for those on the attendee list who don't know, is when you feel like you don't belong somewhere, or that you're not worthy enough to be in the room or in the role or sit in the seat that you sit in. So kind of self-doubt in a way, and maybe an insecurity of some kind, but it's very, very real. And this research shows us that it's very, very real amongst younger women who are, starting out their careers, not feeling comfortable maybe in their own skin. How can we navigate that, and what can you share on your experiences? Who would like to kick us off with imposter syndrome?
Let me try and take that one. First disclosure, Dorothy is my sister, so and
Great.
she's my mentor. So I'm glad I didn't take that one. But on the imposter syndrome, for me, since I obviously did not study HR, it could be there, but I've never actually experienced somebody thinking that my success wasn't deserved, or I can't achieve results in my role. I've never directly experienced it. However, I think when I show up for a job, each place I've been, and somebody has just read my CV and know my competence lies more in the sciences and pre-medical fields, I'm sure there's a question in their mind about fit. And the question around fit must boggle them. So I work very hard from the beginning to stay focused and achieve results early, and be very accommodating to my team, share thinking, and we share commitment. And we commit to what we are going to do together. And I didn't study HR, but I studied it alone. I self-developed. I transformed myself into an HR practitioner. So I'm very comfortable with my competence in terms of knowledge. But what you take to a job is competency. And the word competence means knowledge, skills, and experience. It's your behavior traits. And many of the jobs that we do, eventually the knowledge you can always get off a shelf. We can go and look it up, or you can go to a subject matter expert. But it's in the way you convey that knowledge and you share that knowledge that makes other people gain confidence in your position vis-a-vis theirs. And what is life at the end of the day? Life is about solving problems, coming up with solutions, being innovative. And it's the person who can do that the fastest, and the person who can create lasting solutions that stays at the table. So I know my fellow panelists have talked that it's so important for ladies when we get to this stage, even if somebody thinks you're an imposter is the word, or whatever they may think of you is not relevant to you. You need to find your space at the tables. I've gone in many a boardroom and I go straight to the table and sit. You know that the way the boardroom is arranged, there is space behind the boardroom and they put a couple of chairs. Let's say there's a big meeting. And commonly what you see is young ladies or mid-managers will come and they will sit at the back chairs. And I'm always saying, come to the table, there's still space. You have to take up that space when space is offered and find a way to contribute, even for God's sake, summarize, reinforce understanding, but know the agenda, why you're going to the boardroom, contribute, share ideas, and with time, you will be the one asking the question, which is usually the boss. So that is how you break the ceiling. And that's how I always, if I go into the boardroom, I'm looking at which seat at the table am I going to sit. And in terms of mentors, I have been in very male-dominated industries. I started at Coca-Cola and then went to tobacco, so you can imagine. And after that, I went to oil and gas, a very heavy tech. So you are talking to very highly skilled people who, luckily with my science background, I understood a lot of their jargon. So I was able to oscillate at the wavelengths they were talking. So you empower yourself and use others to empower you when you can't. So to summarize, show results as soon as possible, lasting results, accurate results. If you're on a new job, you have 6 months. So within 3 months, you have to be showing results or asking, how am I doing? Be proactive, take charge, and act professional, act driven, show that you're driven, show that you're passionate. And to be passionate is to have your heart and mind in it. It's not necessarily the way you dress. It is to have your heart and mind in it and to be engaged and to really care about the team. That's how I would answer that about the imposter.
Thank you, Caroline. It sounds like you don't suffer much from the imposter syndrome, which is wonderful. But that's an important lesson in itself, you know, like having that self-belief, dealing with the facts, empowering yourself, as you said. Empower is definitely my favorite word. So, and kind of putting aside, you know, what others think about you is irrelevant. But I think part of the inner monologue with imposter syndrome is actually to your own self-doubt. And thankfully, you haven't faced that as much. But I think one thing that people who do face that could take away is that you need to occupy that opportunity or that seat at the table that you're given. Something, if I could do a share on this, that one of, in my early roles, that someone said to me, the director of the team I was working in was like, don't come to a meeting and not say anything. Because if you come to a meeting and not say anything, then why are you there? And I say that to my team now as well, which I'm sure they hate. Sorry, guys. But we want to hear your voice. You're on this table for a reason. So don't think, oh, hierarchy, I should sit at the back, as you said, Caroline. You just take the seat and have an intelligent set of questions prepared or comments, or even at least, as you said, summarize something that you've heard so that people hear you, see you, and you build your confidence as well. But being the fastest, creating lasting solutions, sharing knowledge as you receive it, these are all part of self-empowerment. So thank you so much on that. I have so many questions flying in. I'll move to another question unless anyone wanted to add on imposter syndrome. No hands up, okay.
I just wanted to say, yes, I just want to say the imposter syndrome, you know, at this level, we don't feel it much, but it happens. You know, when you seek new challenges, it counts. But you know, at this level, you know how to talk to yourself. Caroline said it. We talk to ourselves very well, and sometimes we are very hard on ourselves. Like, come on, you are going to sit here and you're going to talk and you're going to feel like you belong here. And so it usually happens, but not very often, like, you know, I just wanted to say, we are not past that, but we know how to handle it.
Yes, so you've learned to cope with it better. So you have a conversation with yourself. I think that's so important. It's not
exactly, and very hard.
Definitely, especially maybe when it's like a first of something, you know. We all still have firsts and first experiences and going, okay, when I walk in this room, I don't know what's going to happen. But having that self-confidence and being prepared, I think, is another key one as well. I have a question here from an anonymous attendee. Shame they're hiding their name, but it's a great question. It says, I'm currently aiming for a managerial position in my organization, but coming from a junior position where I always had to report to someone, how do I now shift my mindset to a managerial level? So this is a question of mindset. How do I flip my thinking, and what are the things I need to maybe do differently in order to have impact? Joanna, do you want to take that, or?
Well, I think for me, being a leader, being a manager is being a leader. Being a leader means you want to have other people develop and thrive so that we can get more things done. So the first thing to do, I think, is to stop trying to be the expert and understand how you can do it best, but understand how can the people around you do even better. And if that is not interesting, I don't think we should be leaders. Because otherwise you'll just try to take the job from the others. So I'm not sure I'm really answering the question, because at least for me, I think it was, you know, I just suddenly realized how much more impact I had when I got other people to do. I just tried it out in the other roles and it was so much more fun. So try it out, maybe. Try it when you're a junior. I always say, like, try to make as many mistakes as possible when you're junior. Like, try to be the leader, try to summarize, as Caroline says. That's actually often the most important thing also. But just try to drive the agenda and see where you fail, and because that's where you will learn, because then you don't have to do the same mistakes when you're in the managerial position with the limelight.
Yeah, that's great. So you're kind of practicing, you're acting up before you're there. You don't wait until the moment and make those mistakes, so you're better equipped to take on that role. But really key is, as a leader, you need to trust and let go and empower your team to do things. Otherwise, you're just got more workload, basically, which will never really work. So yeah, in order to step up, you have to pull others up with you, I think is key.
And want to pull the others up.
Yeah. So by that measure, I'm kind of hearing from you that leadership is not for everyone.
I have friends who took on the role and then said, I really, really hate being in Excel. Like, I really miss, I miss being in Excel, and I miss doing the analysis. And now I need to speak to them.
Yeah.
People. And at that point in time, that could change at a later stage. But at that point in time, yes, I think you're in the wrong role.
Yeah, that's really important insight for us to take away and to ask ourselves, what do I want out of my job? What fulfills me? Some people go down the route of always being a project manager and kind of having their own portfolio of work and continue to have a very hands-on approach and still grow, but not necessarily manage people. So that's interesting in itself. Dr. Margaret, you wanted to add?
So actually responding to the question, I wanted to tell that person, being in a managerial position is good, but make sure you know your intention, why you want to be there, because you might get there and find that it's not great at all. Yeah, so the intention is very good, because you can be a manager, you can be a leader, not in a traditional sense, but even if you are in your normal job, like even if you are a janitor, you can still lead, you can still like do things. You don't have to be in a position to, but if he or she is aspiring for that position, is good. He has to make sure he know why he wants to be there, and it's not going to happen overnight. As what Joanna was saying, she has to act out. She has to read. I'm saying she, assuming that is a female, but it might be a he. Sorry if it's a he. They have to read about leadership, read about management, construct those role models, and don't rush there. Don't rush. If you really aspire to be there and you are working your way up, you will get there. So know your intentions, and also don't rush. Be grounded. So when you get there, it is at least enjoyable.
And know your why is what you're saying. What is your
exactly intention? Know your why, because it's not pretty. It's not all green shining up there. No, it's not.
And I think we all have probably been guilty of this in our time, when when you're starting out your career and you look upwards to your direct line manager and you think, they're not doing anything. I'm doing all the work. I could do their job. Exactly. I put my hand up. I used to think that about my manager. And as I grew management responsibilities, I was like, oh my goodness, this is so hard. And they're doing so much that you don't see. So it's all that, what do they say? Like, as a leadership, you have to be like a swan on top of the water, but then your feet underneath the water are pedaling really quickly, doing a lot of things. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, can I just add just real quickly?
Yes.
Because they're thinking of a promotion, they need to understand exactly that they will be driving results through others. So that is the role. If you're going into managers, you're going to have people below you. You're going to let go of what you were doing, and you're going to have to drive results through others. The accountability at the end remains with you. So that as a manager, you're accountable for the process and the routines and the people. So, and that's where leadership comes in. You have to influence them to be more productive, more efficient than the previous manager, to the sense that to the level that they're even being innovative and more creative and more interesting as a team. And there are all sorts of leadership style. I like what the doctor said, Dr. Margaret, that you have to go and read. read about it. And the first article you should read is pretty dated, but it's my fallback for anybody who is a subordinate or a leader. It's called Whose Monkey Is It? Whose Monkey Is It? It's from the Harvard Review many years ago, but you will find it everywhere because it was one of my early picks when I was finding people are bringing me work that they should be doing, and I'm finding I'm actually doing, not letting go of a subordinate's role. I'm still doing the training planning, I'm still doing whatever. So they can come, they will tell you their challenge, but they're definitely leaving with their monkey because it's their monkey. They need to go and sort it out. If you find yourself taking on the monkey and the monkey is remaining on your desk, you're saying, okay, put it there, I'll sort it out. Okay, put it there, I'll sort it out. You're still in the old position. So that's just a quick example, but there are many books that you should read. There are leadership styles that you adopt. I learn the person who's working with me, and I learn the style that they want. That makes them more effective. I'm certainly not going to try and put something in a person that God left out. So I'm just going to leverage their strengths and I'm going to move on. So it is working with that person on their side that they are strong. If they're not strong in that side, I'm going to work with somebody else who's strong in that side. And usually in that way, you blend your team and you're seen as an effective manager and an effective leader. And the issue is to get out on time. My team knows that when it comes to 5 o'clock, it's Kavishe time. So I'm starting to wrap up. You need to have certain principles that guide you. Everywhere I've gone, they see it's time to, 4:30, can't go to our desk anymore. That is, you have to be very effective in the time that you're with them. But they can reach you 24/7, etc.
Yeah, so funny that you brought up that that Harvard Business Review article. Is it? I can't remember its title, but "Where's My Monkey" or something like that.
Yeah,
Whose monkey is it? We were just having a debate about this at Empower the other day. We read it and we were all commenting, and it's a really fantastic, guys. Do read it. Wherever you sit in the hierarchy, you can learn something about how you can change and improve the way that you work. So please do read it. Thanks for the recommendation. So I just want to jump to the topic of emotional intelligence. Dr. Margaret, I'll come to you since you mentioned it as something, as a key superpower you have. How do you, the question comes from Sedela Mushi, how do you stay positive and calm when faced with different challenges at work? We all get busy, we all get stressed. We have lots of competing priorities. How do you maintain that equilibrium and your impact? Give us some guidance. And if there's anything specific to, you know, your journey as a woman, that would be really key as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Ella. One thing I want to say, I attribute emotional intelligence to the books I read. Ella, I'm into computer science, but I've read a lot about psychology, about, neurology. I don't do operation, but I know how the brain works. I know how, you can, I've also learned a lot about focus. So it's a training. I'll be honest, I've trained for about 7 years on emotional intelligence, not like going to official school, having a PhD or master's in emotional intelligence, but I do self-read. You can see behind here, there are about more than 30 books on emotional intelligence, focus, neurology, and, brain chemicals. So a straight answer is you have to train. It's about training. It's about reading and also training. I've done meditation as well. So it's a combination of so many things that ground you and teach you how to put boundaries on, when it comes to office things and home things and street things and friends. Yeah, you have to have this compartment. I have a compartment of office stuff. So all the stress, all the happiness, and all the things about the office, they stay in this compartment. All the things about home and the lunch boxes and the cleanness, they stay in this compartment. And everything about friends, relatives, the weddings, the kitchen parties, and all the stress that comes with it, they stay in another compartment. It's a skill, and it's a skill that you have to learn, not overnight, over many years. learn and practice.
Yeah.
So that's what I would say. I've been doing for about 6-7 years.
Yeah, read. You've got a library behind you. Honestly.
Read and practice. Trust me, I read a lot about, things that, groom your emotional intelligence, because it's something that I didn't know before. So you come home, you are stressed, you start fighting with kids, sometimes you just shout to your husband for nothing that he has done wrong. You hate the neighbors because you're so stressed at work. And then you go to work, you start shouting to the employees because you have this stuff at home, and they destroy you. They destroy your work will destroy your family will destroy your work, and it goes like that in a net if you don't have this small compartment. And being in the leadership position, you are like a sponge. You absorb a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Especially at work, and So
you need to compartmentalize.
So I want to answer. Yes, you have to
have tools and mechanisms, because it's not necessarily natural to us. What I'm hearing is you need to learn how to cope, and have constant.
I learned that.
Fantastic.
I'll just add a little bit to what the doctor is saying. Before it was IQ. Now what gets you through is EQ and even SQ, social intelligence. So she's very right. When I'm under pressure, my team knows me and they'll know there's something not right. And I am so willing to dedicate. If I know somebody will handle it better, it doesn't discredit me in sharing responsibility. I'm very comfortable with that. I'm very comfortable with getting bottom-up thinking. I accommodate that. Lateral thinking, I accommodate that. And it handles my stretch. And I taught myself how to switch off when I'm going home, because I just cannot take it to my family. I learned that early after it started affecting and saying, oh, maybe you should leave that job, when it really got intense and things like that. And then I started very early to say, I have to switch this off, put it on the shelf, and pick it up again tomorrow. So when I come into the office and something has overboiled in a certain area, or in trying to mitigate certain stresses, I'll come and I'll share. I have no secret about that with my team. I trust them. There has to be integrity in what we do and say. Integrity is not always about stealing. Integrity is about being real. So I give it my real self all the time. And once I trust my team, I tell them the challenge I have, even if it's above their job grade. We still think together and we mitigate. And somehow I've found it diffuses. And we handle the problem faster. And that's what works with me. Sharing your tension, you have to find somebody you trust and can be your shock absorber in sharing your challenge, whether it's at work or at home. And at home, of course, I've talked about my support structures, and at work, I have excellent support structures as well. And that's how I would advise anybody. You must share. It's not a problem you created. Even if you created and it's going to cost money, we'll put it under the training budget.
Yeah. So integrity is about being real. I love that. So sharing and strategizing together to be able to find solutions. You don't have to do it alone. I keep coming back to this theme. Joanna, you also had your hand up. Please share.
I really like what Dr. Margaret was saying and the thing about practice. And I just wanted to share a technique I think many of us are aware of and that I tried out quite recently, which is to put yourself a target and follow it up every day. Because we all describe now a number of strengths and a number of things we read. And you learn some of them over time, but then the particular situation which you're in, you might still fail. So I'm very good at failing at being a sustainable leader, where I have time for myself and I have time to work out and I have time to sleep. I'm quite good at failing at that. But there's always different reasons, you know. So I feel I'm good at compartmentalizing now. I've learned that during the years, but I'm very bad at saying no to my employees. I'm not the Kavishe time. That's not my strength right now. So with this tool, basically, I just ask myself every day, so what do I want to do today that will make me more of a sustainable leader, meaning a leader who has also slept and had time to eat and had time to work out? What today will I do? And then the next morning, I tell myself the same question. And I also ask myself, did I do what I said to do yesterday? And I think about 50% of the time it's a no. And the times it's a yes, I feel very positive about it. And the times that there's a no, I start understanding at this very particular point in time right now, where I am right now, why is it not? And then I can go back to what I read, and I can go back and I can even bring it to people like you and ask for advice. And then I get a bit of a trick and I try it out the next day. So it's a very concrete way of practicing. Because it's all about, we've all said that we need to adapt, we need to learn, we need to, you know, but you need to put it into your everyday. And for me, this has helped. Maybe it helps someone else. And it can be any goal.
Yeah, sustainability of any goal is everything, isn't it? Because if you can't action, you can read 1,000 books, but if you're not going to actually try out this new method, then it's great knowledge, but it's not actually action. So I love that. So that's something we all need to take away, ladies and gents online. What little milestones or checkpoints are you giving yourself every single day? It's not even this year, it's today. It needs to be that real. And then check yourself. Did I do it? Okay, maybe you didn't, but what am I going to do tomorrow? And eventually you'll see that change. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. We are swiftly running out of time with only 9 minutes left, but I have a question here from a gentleman who has put it in the chat. I hope I've understood the question properly, but I think it's quite a sensitive one and quite an important one for us to navigate. So Francis Temba has said, I've seen women who stumble in that sex for position roadblock, always when they seek career growth or new opportunities. And I've seen women who swiftly navigate around that hurdle. What is the secret formula that distinguishes the two? So if I'm understanding it, there is an aspect of being a female in the workplace and promotion and getting ahead and breaking glass ceilings, where maybe you might face some challenges around expectations of men around you that could compromise your dignity or whatever it is, or get ahead quick by maybe engaging in relationships that you shouldn't. Can we talk about that a little bit? I don't really know, how we talk about it, but we do need to talk about it. How can we advise women who are coming up in their leadership, respective leadership journeys? How do you navigate that when you're put in a really compromising and uncomfortable position? Dr. Margaret's hand is straight up. Over to you. Good.
Thank you, Ella. First of all, shout out to Francis, my cousin, and is a male cousin who is here. Francis, thank you to hear from you. I'll say this is the way I'm answering. This is not like general to every female, but I'll say I've seen it to a bigger percent. The way you carry yourself. The others is I don't want to say it's a fault of a female, but many, the thing about being a nice person at work. I'll repeat again, the thing about, the way you present yourself online and the way you respond to the very first, I'll tell you, many are so, I won't say they are so clever, or they know what they're doing, and they will try out, they won't reach the sex for position stuff. They will first learn about you. They will try out things about you. It's that first encounter, how you react about it, that will make it a challenge in the future, or will protect. We have to be very straight, and we have to not crave to be liked, because if you be very straight and you talk it out, you will consider not a very nice person. So I'm going back to that thing of being liked. We crave to be liked, to find that we are in that position. So I will say, I'm not saying this 100%, and it's not a blame to female, but some of them are really straight, but some male are just so stubborn. I'll let someone else talk on that side, but I'm talking on the side of how we carry ourselves, how serious you are, and how easy are you to be put in that position of being asked for sex before you are promoted.
Yeah, I think that's so key. It's about, we're going back to your image and how you project yourself. And are you even an option for anybody, any male or person to approach you in the first place? What barriers are you creating to protect yourself from even being susceptible to that? But you've also said sometimes no barrier is even strong enough. So any other comment from the other panelists on that? I know it's very sensitive, so you don't have to share any personal experience. Caroline, I see your hand up. But if you can, what tips you can give women in the workplace on that would be really helpful.
The one statement I can make, whenever you see, if you're going to walk down one path, it's short-lived. I mean, you're walking into a dead end. It's a no-go zone. So fundamentally, that is the principle, because how long would that it has no payback. So you should be principled enough to know it's not an option. And your body language and how you carry yourself, therefore, integrity, that people know there's that personal space that is a no-go zone. For me, it has always worked. We can have the craziest jokes, we can have the craziest time, but they know when it's time out and out of bounds, those things are made clear. So I've been able, and I will advise anybody to know that if you see that the approach someone is taking is time-bound or short-lived or takes you to a dead end, because that person is going to leave, you're eventually going to have to be accountable and show results. And even if you believe you can be accountable and show results by compromising yourself, it would not give you the trust and confidence others must have in you to succeed. So that is what I tell ladies who are trying to break the ceiling. It is very possible to do it without. Men just simply want to have a relationship with you. Don't take it to the sexual level where it is not, it's taking you to a dead end.
I think that's so key. That's almost, the dead end is putting your power and your skills into someone else's hands. And therein lies the dead end, because that person cannot help you forever. And they probably don't care to either. So I think that's a really important point. I don't know, Joanna, if you wanted to add one more thing before we wrap on that. Any perspectives from your side or experience shares?
Well, I'd like to add another perspective, because I think the two ladies have really summarized it from what you can do yourself. It's about what you can do as a manager. And I think it's very important to open up this dialogue in between your team members. Maybe not to the extent where we are now, but at least opening up the dialogue of how do we feel part of the team, and in which way does anyone feel excluded, and what did they do then, and what would they have wanted someone else to do. And that can be females. Often when I've opened it up, it's also come out other topics, like being a young guy who's very prone to feelings or anything else. But by opening that communication, you give strength to people who might not have the same strength to just build that barrier, but they understand it's okay, but unconsciously. So create communication and create open atmosphere about the topics you can discuss in the team.
So start this dialogue. It's a real issue. And I think, as I said at the beginning, the he for she movement, remember, we're not alone. There's plenty of women in the workplace who have probably, suffered or have been subjected to such issues. So how can you speak to other women and get guidance, but also men, and, discussing this issue amongst your network in a way that can build awareness as well and open that communication. But thank you all for sharing on that. I think it was a great question. Thank you, Francis. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. And so I think it's really important that we just kind of wrap up our key takeaways from today. An enormous thank you and huge round of applause to our phenomenal panelists, Joanna, Dr. Margaret, and Caroline, who have been so forthcoming and so open and so committed to sharing their experiences with us today. I really, really appreciate you. I've certainly learned a lot. If I may, I will share my key takeaways. I have 3 key categories that I've kind of written down from this discussion. The first one that comes to mind is remove the label when we're talking about breaking the glass ceiling. Easier said than done, but a really important part of it is remove the label, focus on competency, focus on facts, focus on what you can bring to the table and your skills rather than saying, I'm a woman, oh no, I don't think I can do this, or I don't think someone else can trust me to do this. So, and remember, I think Caroline, one of your quotes was, you can't, it doesn't matter what other people think, throw that away. It's about what you think of yourself. And also you can't control what other people think. You're always going to have those barriers. So remove the label from your own mind at the very least. You will face bias. You will navigate through it. The second pillar for me is empower yourself. As I said, empowerment or empower is a very key part and a very good word. So empower yourself, how? Learn. Read, look at all those books behind Dr. Margaret. Read, practice, be curious, take that seat at the table, walk into that boardroom and take the seat. Don't sit at the back, ask a question, summarize, be clear, have facts, deal with the facts, especially if you're dealing with something like imposter syndrome, where maybe you're feeling a bit insecure in your situation. Go factual and show people what value you add. So that's empowering yourself. And my third and final takeaway, and there's many more, but I'm trying to summarize, you don't have to do it on your own. We have a whole army of people behind us who love us, who are wishing us well and willing us to do well. We have family, we have partners, we have children, we have colleagues and friends. So get to know your support system, particularly as a woman who wants to have a family as well. You need systems, you need processes that are supportive. You need mentorship, you need sponsorship, you need people to believe in you as much as you believe in yourself. Courage doesn't have to be, was it lonely? Or you don't have to be courageous alone. That was it. That was the t-shirt that we're going to make. You don't have to be courageous alone. We're all here willing each other and wishing each other the best. So with that said, I wish you all the best on your respective onward and upward journeys, although there's no ceilings for you, right? Yeah. Only for the rest of us. Thank you once again. We are definitely out of time, but I just wanted to share some love that has been coming through on the chat. So much great stuff that people are saying and responding to. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're reading it in your own time. People saying, I love the sisterly love. Greetings to all, glad to hear your inspirational talk. That was from Shainul Banji. What else? It's so great to learn how to bring other women to the table, to remember that there is enough space and that when it feels like there isn't, just make a bigger table. And I really, really love that example that you gave us, Caroline, of how you're 50-50 or nearly 50-50 at the XCOM on Tigo. So now you've seen that change in your own career. So times are changing. Yeah. And we need to be here for each other as women as well. So yeah, Miranda made a comment, connecting women to new roles, opportunities, or board positions gives me joy, she says. So what are we doing for others that are coming up on their respective journeys? You have to give to receive. I think that's a law of attraction. So yeah, thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for your time, everybody. We have had such great engagement today. I appreciate you all, and I wish you a wonderful evening. Any closing last kind of reflections from the panel before we officially close our webinar today? Maybe you could just say one or two, just very brief, just a minute each, if that's okay. Caroline, I'll come to you first.
Okay, just my last word would be, as far as ceilings grow in Tanzania, we're very fortunate as women because the ceiling is broke. We have a president who's female. We've had a vice president. We have executives, MDs, CEOs leading big banks. So for those coming up, they should only see this as encouragement. They must shoot for the moon or whatever is beyond the moon. If they miss it, they will land amongst the stars, and that's damn good anyway. I would say they must remain it requires hard work, by the way. Nothing that is not hard, that is easy, is worth doing. I always tell my young graduates, it's hard work and it's uphill. The hill can be steep like this, or the hill can be steep. It requires hard work. Nothing is easy and shouldn't be taken for granted. Excellent values, good principles. Read the 7 Habits of Effective Leaders. Those 70, the private victories and the public victories, it's principles you must lead and lead by. So those are the attributes I would look for them to have to continue to break the ceilings, and I wish them well.
Thank you.
Everybody's replaceable.
Yes, thank you so much, Caroline. Thank you for your wisdom. We appreciate your time. Joanna?
Well, if I were to summarize it, I think it is to believe in yourself, look at your own strengths, as someone in the panel said, and you don't give it's more risk that people will lose out on everything that's really good in you than of making a small mistake sometimes.
Yeah, be courageous enough to make mistakes as well, because you will grow. Fantastic. I'm wondering if Dr. Margaret's still with us. I don't see her. I think she might have dropped off the call. Dr. Margaret, are you there? I know we're a bit over time, or it could be connectivity, but I'm sure, oh, she's dropped off. Okay, no worries at all. I think we're over time as well. With that said, we officially close here. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your engagement. Thank you for your time, and have a blessed evening. All the best.
Well done, Ella. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The recording, by the way, will be online.
She's back.
Oh, she's back. Dr. Margaret, if you just wanted to say just a quick wrap up, 30 seconds. We thought you were gone. Anything that you want us to take away?
Oh my God, sorry. I just want to thank everyone, all the attendees, and really to thank out like everyone who has stayed with us, and to say to the ladies in the panel that they have to really know how to stand up for themselves, and also ask for what they think they want. They should not wait to be given. You know, when you want to ask for a raise and then you just say, I will wait until when they see me and give me a raise. Caroline won't see you so easily among the Tigo people. So go and ask if you think you are due for promotion and probably salary. So that's my last thing I wanted to say.
Thank you so much. So don't be afraid to ask. This is a really important part of the female journey. I think that's something we can all take away. The love is pouring in from everyone. Guys, the session has been recorded just so that everybody knows, and it will be shared on Empower's YouTube channel. So if you didn't catch the beginning or you had to drop out early, that if you just go to Empower Limited on YouTube, I'm hoping it will be posted sometime by tomorrow, maybe even tonight, who knows? But keep an eye out, we will post it on our socials as well. So thank you for being here. Thank you for all the love. People are saying it was such a great session, insightful. This should be a regular thing, invaluable learning session. We're loving it. So ladies, we might call you back for round 2. I hope that's okay. Thank you. All the best and good evening.
Okay, thank you, Ella.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Margaret. Bye, Joanna.
Bye-bye. Bye, Joanna. Bye, Caroline. Bye, Ella.
Bye. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.